Good morning, everybody. I think we'll get started. Ann, are we ready?
Yeah, go right on ahead.
Okay. Well, again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to welcome to our virtual campus today on this beautiful Saturday. Uh, I'm going to jump right in and introduce our president so we can keep this morning running for you very quickly and have you spend as much time as you can with the folks from the nursing department to see the exciting things that we're doing and how they can really build an experience for you that's quite special. So Dr. Mary Lou Yan was appointed the 14th president of Notre Dame of Maryland University in 2014. She has over 30 years experience in higher education and began her career as a registered nurse. In 2016, Governor Hogan appointed Dr. Yan to the Maryland Commission on Women. She is chair of the Colonial State Athletic Conference and treasurer for the Maryland Independent Colleges and University Board. She was named to the top 100 women in Baltimore list in 2017. Dr. Yan, please.
Good morning. Thank you, Scott. It's my pleasure to welcome you today to learn about the nursing major at the School of Nursing at NDMU. Having been a registered nurse myself, I know firsthand the feeling of excitement experienced by potential nursing students as they think about their education. To learn about how to help individuals cope with their illnesses and maintain health is wonderful work with enormous personal and professional satisfaction. Last year, NDMU celebrated its 125th anniversary in higher education, a tremendous legacy. We are in the top third in the regional category North in US News rankings and number 11 in that category for top performer in social mobility. In a national study conducted a year ago by Georgetown University, NDMU ranked number 2 in the state of Maryland among all private colleges and number 2 nationally among women's colleges on 10-year return on investment. Let me talk a little bit now about the nursing program. In the program at Notre Dame, you will have the advantages of academic rigor, an enriched learning experience with personal attention that has been our tradition, one-on-one advisement, our commitment to small class sizes, and an expert, caring, and dedicated faculty and staff who will be here to support you meet your goals, not to mention a state-of-the-art School of Nursing academic building and a cutting-edge simulated laboratory. With ample healthcare facilities in Baltimore and the state of Maryland, your clinical practicums will offer you both breadth and depth of a learning experience. In the nursing program, you'll acquire the knowledge, skills, and values that will enable you to develop caring practices and to grow as nurse leaders. So once again, thank you for taking the time to learn about NDMU. We welcome your questions throughout the session, and I hope to see you on campus in the fall. Go Gators, and my best wishes for your continued success. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yan. So again, my name is Scott Bree. I'm the Vice President for Enrollment at Notre Dame of Maryland University. And I just wanted to make a few comments, and I really wanted to focus on two things for you today. And these are things I want you to really consider this evening or this weekend, or as you go through the next few weeks and months trying to decide where you want to be this fall. And for me, you know, I want to talk about things that I think affect you, not just in your choice set, but will affect you 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the road as you progress through your life. And I think there's two things to consider beyond the awesome rankings that we have and things that Dr. Yan referenced. And one of them is last year we had the pleasure of spending time with Dean Wisser, who's on medical leave, but you see a video on our website that features her. And one of the things you're going to hear about today is the theory of caring science. And we feel it's a very special part of what we do here. And the theory behind that is that, you know, as Dean Wisser says, when a patient walks into an emergency room or doctor's office in the community, they're a community member, and they need to be treated in a way that's kind and compassionate and empathetic. And so beyond just the amazing things you're going to see with the lab facilities that we have and the amazing faculty, there's that thread that's going to run through that fits into our mission that our work is to turn out nurses who can change the world, but can also treat every person who comes their way in a way that's just comforting and helpful and goes beyond just the medical issues that folks face. It's really special, and it's just really something that we're very proud of. And I think when you take that and you look at how we design our curriculum for all the women's college students and the idea of imprint, where there's going to be 4 pillars of learning attached to that nursing program that all of our students are going to take part in. And that experience focuses on personal leadership, on how to network and how to develop mentors and advocates, how to have a global understanding, and how to appreciate diversity and inclusion in the world, and also how to work in teams. And those are the things that any employer wants to see beyond the general competency. So I think as you take away your thoughts from today, I want you to think about our president, for example, who started off as a registered nurse and is now a university president. You need skills beyond the degree to succeed in the world. And I think where we're a little special and our program stands out is we're hyper focused on giving you both of those opportunities. So think about those things today. Think about it down the road and ask us questions about it. But I think that's what makes this opportunity so unique. So I'm going to turn it back over to Marcy. Thank you for being here today. And we've got a nice set of events for you as we progress through the morning. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Scott. And thank you, President Yam, as well. All right, so we're just gonna show a slide really quick for our students. As we have a mixture of students here today, which is fantastic. And again, thank you all for being here today. I just want to talk a little bit more about some of the admission steps. So if you've applied to Notre Dame, but you haven't yet heard about your decision, please reach out to the admissions counselor that you've been working with. You can shoot them an email or give us a call on Monday, and let's just see what pieces of your application we're missing. It could just be something, very small, like a transcript that we're missing, or maybe it was mailed in, but it hasn't been processed yet. So just reach out to us and we'll help to get you in very quickly. And if you've already been accepted, congratulations. Your next step, and we're going to have a session on this in just a minute, is to make sure that if you're filling out the FAFSA that you've added Notre Dame to that. And that way we can give you a full financial aid award package that'll be sent to you in the mail. And it's important information that you need to look over with your family. And then if you're having any questions or concerns, later today, we're going to have a link where you can sign up for a personalized financial aid call, but you can also give the admissions counselor that you're working with a call as well. And we'll help facilitate the conversation. And then we abide by the May 1st deadline. So that's the national deposit deadline. So if you've been accepted, you pretty much have until May 1st to make your decision. And you can always ask us any questions or concerns. If you need a little bit more time, just let us know. If you want to come to campus, we can facilitate for that for you as well. But we do abide by the May 1st deadline. And then once you've deposited, you're that much closer to starting here in the fall. We're working very hard for the deposited students to get you on campus for our summer registration days. So we're going to have a few of those in June and July, and more information will be coming out about those. Just because of COVID protocols, we're going to have smaller groups or virtual dates as well. So just make sure your email address is correct so that we can get you that information. But at the registration days, you're going to be receiving your schedule for the fall. You'll also receive your student ID and your tech information. And so then you're basically a Notre Dame Gator, and we're super excited to see you all on campus in the fall. But again, throughout the whole process, if you have any questions or concerns, you're just going to want to reach out to the admissions team. You do have a personalized admissions counselor that can help you, but anybody on the team can really help facilitate any of the questions and concerns that you have. But you're going to be receiving a lot of information from us soon. And so hopefully we again see you on campus in the fall. But as I said, you're going to get some more information about financial aid, because that's really an important step in this process. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris Hanlon, who is the Director for Financial Aid at Notre Dame.
Thanks, Marcy. Thanks for having me. Welcome, everyone. Glad you're here with us today. So I think this time of the year for all families, our NDMU Gator families, and for all families in general, you really want to start to understand where you are in the financial aid process. So that's what I try to do with families this time of the year. There's a lot of nerves out there, a lot of worry. So I think if you have some general guidelines about where you should be, sometimes you can relax a little bit, enjoy the end part of the financial aid and admission search process, and start to enjoy and looking forward to being in school in August. So that's what I try to do during this session. So by this time, all of you should have completed your FAFSA, and all of the FAFSA results for all the schools you are considering should be at the institutions that you listed on your FAFSA. If you have not completed your FAFSA, it's not too late. The sooner the better. It's the type of thing that after the session today, if you've not done your FAFSA, it's probably a good thing to go ahead and get that done. The FAFSA really is your inroad into the entire financial aid process. It's what creates the financial aid mail flow. It is what tells us that you are interested in being at NDMU, and the way that we're going to handle your financial aid packaging, and the way that you're going to manage your college costs. So if you've completed your FAFSA already, you should have already begun hearing from schools with award letters and process documents about how to handle the rest of the process. We started awarding here a little bit after Thanksgiving. That's the calendar that most places use. So if you have not heard from the schools you're considering and you have completed a FAFSA, it's probably good to go ahead and reach out just to make sure that they have your result, that they know that you are in the mix. And that goes for us too, of course. If you have not heard from us yet, I believe every award that we can do to date is already out in the mail. I believe Wednesday was the last day that we sent packages. So any of you who were prepared for awarding should have an award in the mail before too long. The best thing about receiving an award letter is it's the first step that you've handled the process the right way. And I think it is a good time to take a bit of a deep breath to say, well, I completed my FAFSA, I've done what the school asked me to do with regard to receiving an award letter, and now I have my award letter. And it's almost a time to decompress a little bit, to work with your friends and family and mentors, and try to begin the process of picking a college, knowing that you have an award letter that will support you not only in your first year, but over the next 4 years. Here at NDMU, when you receive your award letter, and you really receive two documents. You receive your NDMU award letter, and you receive what we call the NDMU Financial Aid Next Steps document. Your award letter tells you a few things, and as I've already mentioned, it should serve as a good level of comfort that you've done good work so far. The most important thing, your financial aid award letter takes all the information that we have from federal sources, from institutional aid sources, from state sources, and sometimes even from local sources, and they put it all on one letter. And so it gives you a good view of what your financial aid is going to be, at least in year one, and how your cost is going to come together in year one. It is by far the most important tool that you will have to begin your financial aid and your college financial planning process. A lot of times what parents are looking for, or mentors or whoever you're working with, is an idea of what the out-of-pocket expense is going to be. It's your financial aid award letter that provides you the ability to start defining that out-of-pocket expenses. I've always felt too that the award letter is kind of begins the process of putting choices on the table for families. So if you have not had the conversation with your parents or mentors or family about how you're going to handle college expenses, be those expenses at NDMU or somewhere else, the award letter is kind of the kickoff to those conversations. Over the years, I've always said, this is when the after dinner conversation starts about where you're going to college and how you're going to manage the cost. So none of us are naive enough to think that this is not a lot of money. We know this is a lot of money, and the sooner you can start those conversations, the better. And finally, your financial aid award letter provides links to important consumer information that's required of the university to provide to you. You can find that information on the award letter, and then links all over our website as well. In addition to the award letter at NDMU, we provide a very, very simple 2-page next steps document. We have tested the document, and if you follow the steps that are on there, and they are numbered, you can pretty much take care of 85 or 90% of the financial aid process in pretty quick order. So we recommend that you use that document, that you call us, of course, if you get stuck in any of the steps, and we'll be there to support you as well. And it includes all the key federal links that you're going to need to complete the financial aid process with regard to federal loan programs, both for parents and for students. So what might still be in front of you? And I think sometimes the anxiety that's involved in finishing the financial aid process can be just as bad as the anxiety involved with beginning it. So I try to give families some idea of what they might get in the future as a way. So when you receive a request from the office, you know that it's a routine request and nothing that you really need to be concerned about. There are many cases, about 30% of the time nationwide, families are required to provide additional documents to financial aid offices. They are required, they're not optional. So when you get a request from the aid office, you want to make sure that you respond as quickly as possible. Some of those documents might include tax documents or citizenship documents, or documents about your family size or the number of family members going to college. It's important to move fast, but it's also important to be accurate. So if you're going to choose one or the other, choose accuracy first. If you're worried about moving too slowly, call us, and then we will get you back on track and get you moving down the line a little bit quicker. So as I've already mentioned, usually what happens after the receipt of an award letter, families begin talking about how they're going to pay for college. My daughter is a high school senior. She graduated in December, and we have been talking about that in our house. So what programs are we going to use? Which programs are we not going to use? Is my daughter going to be doing work study for the first year? Is she going to deny work study for the first year? Those are the types of conversations that are important to have right about now. So you just have a general framework about how your first year of college expenses are going to come together. At NDMU, we sponsor monthly payment plans that I think are very good. They go up to about 10 months in length, or you can do less than 10 months. The federal parent loans, which is a federal loan program for parents of undergraduate students, are very popular and very, very good programs. We will actually be using parent loan most likely. In my family, you pay about $50 per month per $4,000 borrowed in that program. They are very popular with parents, and what I've seen over the years, for parents who use those programs, they are able to take a bit of a deep breath and enjoy the first year of college with their students. And that gives them enough time to plan for expenses at this level. So I think the parent loan is definitely something most families should look at. They're very, very strong programs. As far as the calendar for billing and the release of financial aid dollars to your student accounts, you'll start to see that happen in June or July, where you start receiving documents from the student accounts area that have billing information and estimated aid information as well. So you can kind of look at that June and July timeframe as the kickoff to the business part of the financial aid and student accounts area. And then starting in October, third week of September through the first week of October, you'll start seeing funds move onto your student account. And then from that point on, once a week, usually on Thursdays, we will continue this activity of moving financial aid onto student accounts all year long. So that's what you want to be prepared for as far as billing, and we call them financial aid disbursements. So a disbursement of funds onto your student account, again, once a week, usually on Thursdays, starting in September or October. And then, of course, right after you get here and right after financial aid starts flowing to your account, you'll start this process all over again. So in October of 2021, your FAFSA for the upcoming year will become available. So it's always best to do it early. That way you get into the upper class mail flow early. And it's just always a good thing to do. So October 2021, right after you start school, you will have another FAFSA to do with your family or with your parents. And that process will kick off very quickly and get the next year's aid operation up and running for you. Thanks, Marcy.
Thanks, Chris. So in just a second, we're going to move into the School of Nursing presentation, but I just want to remind all students that at the end of the School of Nursing presentation, we're going to be putting a link into the chat where you can sign up for a day and time to speak with financial aid if you have specific questions and concerns about your financial aid package. So just be mindful of that. It's just going to ask for all of your information so that we can get back to you. And then during the School of Nursing presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat and we'll answer them as we see them. But if we don't get to it, we can always email you with the answer after the presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to our Associate Dean for the School of Nursing, Catherine Handy.
Hello, good morning. Thank you, Marcy. Welcome to everyone. Again, I'm Dr. Catherine Handy, and I'm the Associate Dean for the Undergraduate Nursing Program here at the School of Nursing. And so I also bring greetings from Dean Wisser, who is out on medical leave, but she should be returning here shortly. So I just wanted to take a few minutes and introduce the School of Nursing and give you a little background on the program. As mentioned earlier, at the School of Nursing, caring and compassion are really the foundation of our program. And we use caring science, and that caring science serves as a cornerstone of the School of Nursing's philosophy and our program outcomes. We really think that this sets us apart from others. And so here we focus on how caring can be preserved as the ethical foundation for nursing practice and utilized as a caring practice as you work to transform healthcare and the communities that you will serve. The School of Nursing has infused this caring science throughout all courses in the program. And so we really do this through caring connections with you as our students, our colleagues, faculty, as well as our patients and the communities. And so this is lived out through an caring, authentic presence with one another, through multiple ways of knowing. And the ultimate goal here is really professionalism, excellence in nursing, building these inclusive communities, engaging in service to others, and also promoting social responsibility. So we're also very active within the community, and we work to improve the health of Baltimore area's most vulnerable populations and residents through outreach and service there too. So to give you a little bit of background about the School of Nursing, in 2013, the School of Nursing accepted its first students into the entry-level nursing major. And in 2015, that first class graduated of about 26 students. And so it's really been exciting to see the program grow over the last few years. And so to date, our entry-level BSN program, the traditional program, we have about 115 junior and senior students combined. That doesn't include our hybrid students or accelerated students in other programs. And so one of the highlights of the School of Nursing is our CCT, the Center for Caring with Technology, that's used throughout the program for simulation and other clinical nursing practice opportunities. And so throughout your time within the program, you'll be able to work with some amazing faculty and staff here who come from a variety of diverse backgrounds with many years of experience in healthcare and education, who have put this knowledge and expertise into developing these innovative ways of teaching and learning for you. Our goals are for you to have the best learning experience and to be successful in the program and ultimately in your future nursing career. And so, as we mentioned earlier, we have multiple partnerships with healthcare institutions in the area that's going to help enhance your learning in the field as well. So I mentioned before, the Center for Caring with Technology is a space for learning and practicing that art and science of nursing using simulation technology. And here you're going to have learning opportunities that use high and low fidelity human patient simulators, as well as standardized patients too. And so this really provides a great safe space for uncovering and responding to what matters most in working with patients and in certain patient situations. And so I'd like to now introduce Ms. Barbara Goff, the Director of Center for Caring with Technology, and Mr. Zane Hunter, the Simulation and Technology Support Specialist. They're going to give us a tour of the CCT and provide some demonstrations of some of the technology that we have available in the CCT. Okay, again, welcome, and we look forward to seeing you on campus soon. I will now hand it over to Ms. Goff and Mr. Hunter.
Welcome, welcome, everybody. It's so nice to have you here this morning. We're excited about showing you what we have to offer. We're going to start off with a tour, a virtual tour, and we'll take you through the virtual tour. It'll take about 10 minutes. And then after that, we'll have some live demonstrations and we'll speak about some of the technology that we have here. Because the tour was, I think it was 2014, this tour was done, and things have changed quite a bit since then. So we want to show you how far we've come. And so Zane will be leading us through the tour and I'll be assisting him. You ready, Zane?
We're ready. Thank you, Barb, and thank you, Catherine, and everybody who spoke this morning. Welcome, everybody. So let's get the virtual tour started. I'm going to share my screen here. Can somebody make me co-host, or I'm unable to share my screen?
I'm doing that right now.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. All right, you should have the capability now.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Okay, so here we are. This is the Google virtual tour. As Barb mentioned, this was done in 2014. So this is the entrance of the building right here, the University Academic Building, or UAB as we refer to it. And as I wanted to try to get a nice wide angle picture of it, but this is about as good as we're going to get. You can kind of see how large it is. It's 3 floors. Okay, so this is the main entrance right here.
It's an absolutely beautiful building.
And as soon as we get into the first level here, this is our atrium. It's a beautiful place to study, lounge, get a sun bath. And then immediately to our left is our technology hub, which is another great space for students to study, lounge. They have printing capabilities. We don't see it here. This is back in 2014, but there's a Sharp printer in here that students can use. There's also a lot of technology in here that you can't really see now, but there's also all-in-one computers for your use, digital televisions that you can hook your laptops up to. This is pretty much the whole first floor right here. Sorry, it just takes a minute to render the photo. And then immediately at the end, we have a seminar room or conference room. Students also study in there quite frequently. And then I'm going to show you one of our 2 classrooms on the first floor. So yeah, this is one of our classrooms. There's another one down the hall. It's completely mirrored, same thing as this one. So we got dual projectors, overhead speakers, surround sound. Okay. And then we're going to move up to the second floor. This is our gallery. There's a lot of art that's displayed up here. I guess we can take a little walk around. Just give you an idea. And then we can see the first floor below. Just a very beautiful space. All right, if we go down the hall this way here, we have immediately to the right is faculty offices, faculty and staff offices. Another classroom to the left. I think this is as far as it'll let me go, yes. So there's some more offices down at the end of the hall there. And this is the nursing office where the dean, our endowed chair, and our administrative assistants live. Unfortunately, can't go in there, but it's a little limited. And then we'll just magically whisk up to the third floor. And this is where we are. Actually, let me go back down here. You can see out the window, that's Knott Science Center in Bunting Hall.
There's a nice space there for students to gather in small groups to study and meet.
Mm-hmm. Go down the hall a little bit here. And this is what you see, this is where we are, Center for Caring with Technology in all its glory. All right. To our right, we have a holistic health assessment lab. You can't go in there, but you can kind of peer in and see, it's outfitted with, an instructor workstation. You can double as a lecture hall. We got physical examination tables where, you could practice on students or SPs or what have you. Immediately to the left is another health assessment lab. It's a little bit larger, but the same idea. So this is 8,400 square feet. This is a very large lab, and it's just a mock hospital, basically. So if we go down here, there's 2 rooms, 302 and 308. These are our adult med-surg labs. They pretty much mirror each other, so we can run as many simulations, well, multiple simulations at once. So if we go in here, now again, this was taken back in 2014. I've never seen it this clean before. So, and there's a lot more technology. We've made a lot of developments over the years. This gives you a good idea of what you'd see.
And we're going to show you
Yeah,
some live footage as well.
Yep.
In a few moments.
Okay. I'll just show you one of our control rooms here. This is where all the magic happens. So there's, as you can see, there's 2-way mirrors here, so we can see what the students are doing, but they cannot see us. This is where we can control our mannequins, listen in on the students. We can talk through the mannequins. We have our AV recording system. The one that we used to have is no more. That's out of date. So we've actually updated our system in 2019. It's about $250,000. And it just gives us the ability to observe students, record their interactions, and show them back to them, as well as a fully functional LMS system. So, okay, if we go across the hall here, okay, here we go. You can see the physical examination lab that I was talking about, the health assessment. You kind of see it from a different angle there. Another control room. This operates behind the scenes of our OB-Peds lab. Okay, and we will definitely go into more detail about these mannequins in a few moments. But as you can see, we have our newborn Hal, we have Noelle, our birthing simulator, pediatric Hal, 5-year-old, and then over here is Mikey. He's been replaced by our Sim Baby, a much more advanced simulator that we just received in the past year. All right, as we go down. There we go. So we have lockers that you are able to use whenever you are up here for your labs, your skills, your simulations. This is a nursing station right here. And we actually just got our Pyxis machine, which is our medical dispensary system. We will definitely show you that in a few moments as well. That was a very exciting addition. And here are our offices down here. If you look to the left, you can actually see me in my office. Our assistant director, and our break room / green room / lactation room has many different purposes. Okay, and if we go down here, we can look into one of the exam rooms. So this would be something that you would see like in a doctor's office kind of setting. For these kinds of scenarios, we use like SPs, which are actual actors in these kinds of scenarios.
So an example would be, let's say you're doing your rotation through psych, and maybe there's a psychiatric patient that is, experiencing, undue anxiety and has delusions, hallucinations. And so the student would have to go in and perhaps try to calm, that patient. And the SP, the standardized patient, the actor would have a script and would have to say and do certain things. And then the student would have to respond and intervene accordingly. So we have lots of opportunities for simulations. And I did want to say, Zane, about simulation. I was just realizing that the students may not even understand what simulation is before we go.
Right, you are.
Yeah, before we even go into the live demos, a simulation, it dates back to the history of, think about the military or space travel. We didn't just send people up to space without practicing, right? It's the same sort of thing. We want it to be a practice, an opportunity for students to be in a safe environment and be free to make mistakes. So we are using these mannequins and we try to make it as real to life as possible. Another reason, we've actually had a lot of action in the simulation lab with COVID, because a lot of the hospitals aren't allowing as many students to come through. So, we need to have a certain amount of hours to graduate. The students need to have a certain amount of hours. So they need to come in and do simulations. So there's all kinds of simulations that we can do. And it's a real as life as possible, pediatric simulations, psychiatric simulations, maternal simulations, medical, surgical simulations, health assessment simulations. And again, it's so the student can practice in a safe place and again, make mistakes without feeling badly. So I believe we're ready to go ahead and do some live demonstrations. Are you ready to come along? Okay, I'm going to put my mask on because Zane and I will be working closely together. And that's another thing. We are really mindful about COVID. We have policies and procedures in place. The students have to do a self check-in The students have to do a self check-in, and they have to wear their mask. If they're going to be within 6 feet, they have to wear a face shield. And so, you know, we have sanitizers throughout. We're cleaning after each simulation. The lockers are cleaned after all the students. So we're really trying to make it a safe place for you. All right, so let's get started. Okay. All righty. So the first thing I'm going to take you to is the Pyxis. And as Zane said, the Pyxis is a new edition, literally like a week old. And we received this through a grant. And so this is a medication delivery system. So we want the students to be ready because a lot of the hospitals have the Pyxis. It's a very simple way to get in to get your medicines. You have your username. You have to take your finger. Then you select your task. I'm going to look at my patients. I'm going to look at Ms. Williams. I'm going to remove a medicine, and that's exactly what I want. I want to get some Lasix for Mr. Williams because he has some fluid in his lungs and we need to give him some Lasix to get rid of that fluid. Okay, so I'm going to press on that. I'm going to remove medicine. Okay. And then it pops open. The door pops open, and there your medicine is. Okay. And so the computer keeps track of how much medication was taken out of the machine. And when we get into the rooms, I'll show you what we have been using as a med card. Okay, so this is very up to date, high tech, and you'll be ahead of the game when you get into the hospitals, if that's what you choose to do, to go into the hospitals. So let's take a walk down the hallway, and here are the lockers like I talked about. So we make sure that they're clean. If they're open, that means they've been cleaned. We're going to go ahead around into our medical surgical room. Before we do that, these are our old med cards. So you can see, you know, how you have to root through to find the medication. And a lot of places still have these. So we've updated there. Okay. All right. So this is room 302. This is one of our 2 med-surg simulation labs. And as you can see, we have a lot more mannequins. This particular mannequin, he's our sim man. He cost close to $90,000, and he is what we use. He's the patient we use for a lot of our simulations. So we might put a wig on him to make him look older. So he can do a lot of things. If you look closely, you can see that he's blinking. He can turn blue, which we call cyanosis. He can have a seizure. He can perspire. He can bleed. He can have IV access. Okay, he can have a seizure. So we try to make him as real to life as possible. And we have, you know, we have our med box, we have all our respiratory equipment, our oxygen, our monitor, you know, so we actually have the capability to adjust the monitor, and the student can come in, listen to the heart, listen to the lungs. The student can hear the different heart sounds. The student can hear the different lung sounds, bowel sounds. And so the simulation technologist, which is Zane, he would be in the control room, changing those numbers, and the student would have to respond to those numbers as well as the symptoms that the patient is having. For example, one of the simulations we're running now, when the students listen to the patient's lungs, they'll hear what we call crackles, which means there's fluid in the lungs. And then the mannequin will get short of breath and cough. And so maybe the oxygen isn't on him. So the student has to analyze and apply their knowledge and know that, okay, he has some fluid, his oxygen level is low, his heart rate is going up. And then, you know, the student needs to intervene, apply the oxygen, know that this patient probably needs fluid, I better call the doctor, get an order from the doctor for some Lasix, which is what I just took out of the Pyxis. Okay, so the student has to put it all together. At the same time, the student has to be displaying caring behaviors, which we talked about, being informative, having a nice calming manner, eye contact, explaining what is going on, talking to the family member if there's a family member. So there are a lot of things that the student has to be thinking about. And certainly as a novice nurse, a novice student, he or she is not going to be thinking about all of that. And so that's okay. That's why they're here, to learn. And so there might be other students in the room watching the simulation, and they're taking notes on what they've done well and what they could do to improve. And they have to, have a debrief, and in a very kind and respectful manner, discuss what they would do differently. And what happens in simulation, we say stays in simulation. So that student, because there might be a student that freezes or gets flustered and doesn't know what to do. And again, this is a safe place. So is there anything you wanted to add about SimMan?
I wish I could do more for you right now, but we're a two-person show and I'm holding the camera. So.
But anything that you want to say? Or?
Oh, no, that's
yeah.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think I covered him. We do have a computer. It's just like you would see in the hospital. The student has to sign on. She has to scan the bracelet, and the medications are in the computer. And so we try to make it as real as possible. Okay. This is just a little setup for students when they come in for open lab, if they want to practice their injections. That's one of the things students get a little nervous about, giving injections. So we really try to have supplies available. We try to have open labs at least twice a week for the students to come and practice their skills. All right. So here is one of our 2 control rooms. And I think Zane spoke of that, but you might want to.
Yeah, so this is actually like one of the laptops that's actually running SimMan right now. So we can control whatever we like here, his lung sounds, his heart sounds, bowels. We can change all of his vitals here. We can put him into cardiac arrest, VFib. He has all kinds of different rhythms. So, I mean, sky's the limit with him. I mean, he's $90,000 and he's worth every penny.
And certainly, like, here's the microphone. So if I were the faculty running the sim, I would be talking into the microphone and giving the voice to Mr. Williams, certainly to make it more realistic. If it's a Mr., we want to have a male voice. So we gives the faculty an opportunity to test their acting skills. It's fun. This week coming up, one of our faculty is going to be an older lady who's being discharged with some new medications and having to do some patient teaching. All right, so we are now going to go into. You want to? Should
we could show them the
let's
health
show you
assessment,
the
because we
health
didn't really
assessment.
get a good look at the health assessment lab. We kind of just peered in, but now we can get a good idea of how large these actually are.
So nursing, has really evolved, and certainly a doctor does a more thorough assessment, but nursing now is expected to do a head-to-toe assessment. As a novice nurse, your assessment is going to be maybe a little minimal, and as you progress in your practice, you're going to become more thorough in your assessment. If you go on to become a nurse practitioner, you're going to be more thorough in your assessment. So this is very realistic, and we have plenty of space and room for students to come up and practice their health assessments. 2 of these rooms. Okay. All right. So this is one of our favorite rooms to do simulations. Right here, we have our newborn Hal. And so here the students can do a newborn assessment. They can assess the APGAR. When we talk about an APGAR, that's their activity, their pulse, if they can grimace, their appearance, their respiration. You can see here, if you look close, looks like Zane's doing all of it.
I'm trying.
The baby's a little bit cyanotic. Okay. And the baby's breathing, the baby's moving. And you see that? So Zane's, there you go. It's okay, baby. It's okay, baby. All right. So that's newborn Hal. Okay. Over here is Sim baby. Sim baby's moving. Sim baby's blinking. So we actually have a simulation coming up this week, 2 of them. One is where the baby develops RSV, which is a respiratory illness, very dangerous in babies. So the baby will cough and the baby will cry.
He's content right now.
That's a content cry. Okay. But we can certainly make that cry sound louder and angrier. Okay. And we also have a sim where the baby is may have been a victim of domestic violence. So we can use some makeup and apply to the torso as if maybe a parent or someone that was watching the baby was shaking the baby. So the student has to recognize upon assessment that that baby, you know, has bruising, you know. We didn't put the bruising on here for this sim because we have another sim we're using it for on Monday. But then they have to put that all together. The baby's dehydrated, the baby has bruising, the baby is irritable. What's going on, mom? And they have to talk to the mom and put it all together. Okay. All right, over here's some infants for the students to practice, and they could do their infant assessments, head circumferences, all kinds of different things. And they really enjoy working with the infants. And here's pediatric Hal. Okay, he's a high fidelity simulator, so he can do anything. He can do similar things to SimMan.
Yeah, like
Okay.
right now I have it set for CPR. So we can do CPR on him. We can see if we're actually doing effective CPR.
Okay. All right. Okay. So over here, this is a space that we'll use if we're going to do something to do with community health nursing. A lot of times people think nursing is just hospitals, and it's not. There's so much more you can do. You can work in the community, you can work in schools, you can work in public health, you can work in nonprofit. Hey, I even worked at the Orioles in the first aid station. There's lots of things you can do. I worked camp nursing, school nursing, public health, lots of different things, educator, ICU, ER, I've done all of that. I've been a nurse for over 30 years and started out as an ICU nurse for 15 years. And then I've gravitated into community. So now community is more in my heart. So this space we use for community. We'll throw down a rug and we'll, you know, put a rocking chair, try to make it look more like a home. So if we're doing a home visit and we have to assess a child or assess a elderly person, a vulnerable person. So this is the space we'll use, and we'll make it look even more realistic. Okay, lastly, we have Noelle. So Noelle, the student can listen. Let me go over here. The student can listen for fetal heart sounds. The student can assess the fundus. The fundus, you know, she can palpate the fundus. She probably costs close to $50,000. One of the things that she can do is she can actually you can see in here, there's a baby, okay? And there's a placenta. And through simulation, she can actually go through the birthing process, okay? Are we able to show a little bit of
You wanna
that?
hold that for a second? That's us down there.
Yep. So Zane's going to see if he can get her working a little bit. So you can see she's blinking, and we try to make her look realistic. We can make her sweat.
Give me an epidural.
Yeah, let's keep her covered a little bit. Yeah, keep her covered. All right.
You can see the mechanism is pushing it out.
So you can see how the baby is descending into the uterus. And, you know, usually when babies are born, they come out head first. So we could make Noelle, you know, scream, cry, groan, moan. So you can see where she's crowning. All right, so the student can learn all about, oh my gosh, I never knew that that small place could open to 10 centimeters and the head is produced and the miracle of birth happens. That's pretty crazy, right? So. And those of you young ladies, you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, I am never gonna have a baby.
Give me an epidural.
We'll wait for that, Noelle.
Is that Catherine? So that's the kind of thing she'd be saying. She'd be yelling at her partner. She'd be saying she's thirsty. Okay, so you can see now Zane is delivering the baby. There we go. And then you can see there's the cord. All right. And then after the cord comes the placenta. Dr. Hunter is delivering his first baby there. Okay. So there you go. Good job, Zane. All righty. Any questions about the sim lab before we go into our panel discussion?
I have a question.
Okay.
How often in the nursing program do you guys do simulations?
You say how often?
How often? Yep.
Every week.
Yep,
Each
sometimes.
class, you know, foundations has probably probably about 4. Adult 1 has about 2. Adult 2 has about 4. And you can use, we can do simulation for up to 50% of our clinical. Okay, because, you know, we're regulated by several different governing bodies. And, you know, there's a certain amount of hours that the student has to do. Now, if there's snow or COVID, then we bring them in to do simulation, or we do a virtual simulation. But yeah, simulation happens a lot. If you're not doing simulation, you're practicing your skills. So you have skills every week, and in that week, you will either have, you know, practice learning a new skill. You'll learn a new skill. There'll be a demonstration, and then you practice that skill. And then you can come to open lab to practice that skill, like subcutaneous injections or IVs or blood pressure, anything like that. Any other questions?
Okay.
All righty.
Let's get back to our offices.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Thanks
Okay.
so much for your attention. And we hope we see you soon here for a real live tour. We hope we see some of you.
Hey, Barbara, really quick, there was a question posed in the chat asking about if class sessions are recorded for students to go back and review later. So I think that's kind of both, especially since you said that you're able to record some of these simulations, and I guess also if you could touch on any of the lecture-based classes as well.
Yeah, so as far as the recordings of the simulations, absolutely. We can record. Now, each faculty has a different style. Some will record, some don't like to record. But certainly if a student requests, we can record and she can look back. We try to come across as, you know, more of a learning experience instead of being critical, you know, because sometimes if you put that up on the screen and talk about what they did wrong, we try to talk about what they did right and what they could do differently the next time.
Yeah, so that, I mean, that could all be a part of the debrief process.
Yeah.
Sometimes they use the video, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, good point, Zane. So when you have a simulation, there's always a pre-brief to prepare the students. Sometimes they have to prepare the night before, do some reading, and there's a pre-brief which lets them know how long the sim is, talk about sort of the rules of the sim, and then the simulation itself might be about 30 minutes. And then after the sim, there's what we call a debriefing, which is where most of the learning occurs. That's where the students have their aha moments, the light bulbs go off. They discuss, oh my gosh, I should have done that. How could I have not remembered to do that? I didn't put my gloves on. Oh my gosh, I didn't talk to the family member, whatever it was. They have a safe place, a circle of caring, if you will. And support from one another to discuss and put all the pieces together, and do perhaps a concept map where the students will go through the whole nursing process, which is, assessment, diagnosis, planning, intervention, evaluation, and then they'll talk about education. And so they'll put all those pieces together. A lot of people, especially lay people, think nursing is just about the skills, learning this, learning that. There's so much knowledge that a nurse has and has to have in order to intervene effectively. And part of what we like to do here as well is not just talk about the task, not just talk about the doing to. If you've ever been in a hospital and the nurse comes in, they're either giving you medicines, listening to your lungs, or drawing blood or something. We also like to talk about the being with part, not just doing to, but being with. And that's where that caring science comes in. So every interaction that you as a student or a future nurse have with that patient should be, caring science should be incorporated into that action. I think this is a good place to end, and we will get back to our offices, and then Dr. Handy is gonna do the, she'll facilitate the panel presentation.
All right, thank you, guys.
Great, wonderful, thank you. So I would like to introduce our panel of current nursing students. Today we have Rena Dyson, Janae Fernandez, Yarni Whitaker, and Andrea Zuluaga. And they're here to represent the School of Nursing from a student perspective. So we would like to take a few moments here and take some questions from you. If you could please write your questions in the chat box, that would be great. I'll just start off here and ask the student panel, what drew you to the School of Nursing at NDMU? If you could just tell us a little bit about that.
I can start. So I went to open house and was immediately drawn to the fact that it's an all women's college, and they make you feel really empowered with the knowledge that you gain here. And it really just drives you to just work for your education and like have a drive to really educate yourself. And you have so much fun. Like the professors are one-on-one with you, and they really get to learn you and you learn them. It's very personal, as opposed to other schools where it's just huge lecture halls. That was something I didn't want. So they're very personal and they listen to you. So they make adjustments throughout the semester. They're really helpful, and it's just a beautiful campus. Like it's really nice here.
I can go. So for me, I'm actually out of state. I'm from Rhode Island, and what drew me, I also visited campus. And for me, it was just how high tech the nursing department was, and how they talked about how Rena said that they really include the students in their learning and how they take a caring approach. I knew that as a nurse, I wanted to make sure that I had that aspect in my caring for other people. So that's what really drew me to the School of Nursing.
I can go. So what drew me to the School of Nursing was I also visited open house, and I enjoyed the faculty and the staff and how they were so open and welcoming. And like Janae and Rena said, the professor to students ratio was very small, so the students are very involved. And I also liked how the CCT was very high tech and in its advancements to set us up for the real nursing world.
Like Rena, what drew me to Notre Dame School of Nursing was the small class ratio to the professors. Each professor really takes their time to get to know the students individually. And latest in one of our classes, one of the professors asked us to share some of their baggage with them. And that professor later on reached out to us personally and asked how we were doing. So I think that's something that a lot of schools don't have, is that the professors really focus on their students and how they can make them as individuals and as future nurses, better people.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for our student panel?
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so when you initially started your School of Nursing, was there anything you were afraid of and now you feel like you've become more confident in it?
So I think I was most worried about the skills asset of the nursing program. Once we started, I didn't know how, like I saw all the technology, but I was like, okay, what do I do with it? But they were really, really nice. And I was really afraid of simulations. So I thought that, you know, everyone was going to be looking at me a certain way. And I was expected to just know all this information. But once you get in it, yes, it's pressure because you're just like, okay, you have to make this seem like it's a real situation. You shouldn't take any of it for granted. But once you like start it, you really like get into the groove of it. And then once you do the debrief, which is like the most important part at the end, you just really like listen to all the feedback, and then you feel so much better because people were in that situation with you. Like you're not alone at all. And you never, like there's positive and negatives to the simulations, but it's never like someone's being harsh towards you, if that makes sense. They're always like so helpful. It's really amazing how great it is.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or any other response to that, to Michelle's question?
What made you guys want to major in nursing?
I feel like for me, I always had some type of medical background that I wanted to get. In high school, I did allied health. I was like, okay, something in healthcare is what I want to do because I always want to help people. I feel like that's what everyone says. I want to help people. I want to help people. But you realize in some of helping people, it's a little bit selfish. You feel good about it. You feel good about making a change. You feel good that you come and you into the hospital and that patient is in one like situation and you're doing as best to your knowledge everything to put them back at what their baseline is or better. So I feel like after being at Notre Dame, you get so much more reward out of the type of caring nursing that they teach here. It's not just about your patient experience in the hospital. It's also about how they have an effect on you. And they, like your patients really drive you to keep going back to work. You really learn to love your patients.
I was nurse. Oh, sorry.
My bad. You can go ahead.
Okay. I chose nursing because I feel like it's the perfect balance between learning and really caring for people. Like it's one of those few fields where you're always learning. You always have an opportunity to grow. And today, like Ms. Barbara said, if you want to do bedside, that's great. And then tomorrow you want to switch. That's not a bad thing in nursing. You can always evolve and you can always change and grow. As an educator, you can virtue in different fields. So that's why I love nursing.
Okay, so I was wondering if like anyone was like an athlete or a part of any like extracurricular activities, because like I know that like being in the nursing field is a very like it can be a very hard career, and like it can come with like a lot of challenges and you can become like very overwhelmed. So how did you guys like juggle or deal with those like difficulties or overcome those like hard parts during the years?
So I play softball, and I've been playing softball the whole time that I've been in school. It's challenging, but you have to want it. I feel like the program is very rigorous, but it's worth it. And you have to really love your sport and what you're doing in classes. And you have to also be very good at communicating with your professors. Let them know ahead of time when your games are, when your practices are, and make sure that you keep everybody in the loop. You as the athlete have to advocate for yourself. Like your coaches will be there to help facilitate change. And you have your academic advisor who helps you a lot as well, because they help you choose what classes are best for your sports schedule. But you have to be on top of speaking to everyone first. Um, so that's something I wish I would have knew beforehand. So you guys are getting that now. Just be on top of everything before it occurs. You don't want to be that person that's last minute that's like, I have an exam this day, but I also have a game. And you have to, try and work that out in your schedule. But just be ahead with your planning. And it's very feasible. I did it. And I mean, my GPA is above 3.0. You can do it.
The other thing I like to mention is when you do a sport, it's a built-in stress management, and as a nurse, you'll learn early on, and faculty speaks to you about this, is self-care, caring for self. You have to take the time to care for self, to care for others. So having softball is a built-in, exercise routine, if you will, which we all know is great for stress management.
For me, I am a student ambassador, and I also was a resident advisor in my first year in nursing school. So for me, I was able to find a balance between all of those things, and I absolutely loved it. You just gotta stay on top of everything and stay organized, and let your leaders know that, hey, I have an exam this day, I have skills this day, and just let them know so they can be able to adjust the schedule for you.
I think on top of like stress management, it also teaches you time management. You learn how to plan your stuff ahead of time so that you won't be stressed and overwhelm yourself. And you'll learn within your first semester what stress is to you, what you can and cannot handle. And that'll just help you further in your school career. It also helps you once you graduate, because when we become nurses, when we get that RN on the side of our name, we have to know how to juggle several different patients at one time. So, I mean, that's a very valuable skill that you will need once you graduate. So, I mean, if you can do it, do it.
I played soccer, and one of the things was, like Rena said, communication. So when I would tell my coach, hey, I have class, I have an exam, she would work with me. She would be like, okay, so come in before class or after class and work out with this group of people. And the sports department also has a tutoring where they have student athletes of upper levels tutor younger student athletes, freshmen and sophomores, in different things. So I was a Spanish tutor, and it's like your own student athletes are also teaching you how to manage your schedule, your different classes, whatever you're struggling with. There's a great support system, not just in the School of Nursing, but in the whole university.
I saw a question in the chat. I am a Morrissey Honors student. I've been in the program since freshman year. I think for me, the courses, before I applied for the program, I didn't realize that the courses weren't very science-based. They are more of like a literature-based course. Like they focus on more classes like that. But I say it is beneficial for me. I think it pushed me harder. I think the classes are very rigorous and rewarding in a way that it makes you a well-rounded person. Like you have opportunities to take other classes that some students don't. So I would definitely recommend doing the program. It is a commitment. You're required to take 6 Morrissey honors classes within your time here at Notre Dame in order to graduate with the honors status. But they work with you. As a nursing student, I wasn't able to fulfill one of my courses, and they understand that nursing is, our schedule is very different from other programs. So they do allow you the opportunity to waive one course if you can't fit it into your schedule, but I do recommend it. I think it's a very rewarding program.
Where do you guys plan to take your nursing career after you graduate? Like, what are your plans for after you graduate?
I can start. Right now, I'm a clinical technician at Johns Hopkins Hospital. And when you do like a clinical externship in your junior or senior year of college, they tell you that moment when they hire you, it's really easy for you to transition from your position as a clinical nurse extern to an RN degree. You would talk to your manager, and so that's really great. And right now I'll be starting my ICU practicum rotation at Sinai. So I think I'll be going towards ICU placement.
For me, I am a nurse extern at Union Memorial in the emergency department. Like Andrea said, it is an easy transition. I spoke to my manager pretty early on. I kind of knew that's what I wanted to do. So I'll probably stay in emergency or some type of critical care background. But I'm about to start my practicum in the pediatric ICU at Sinai. So between pediatric ICU and the adult ED, somewhere in there is where I'll go. But we talked about this earlier. You can really go anywhere. You can stay there for 2 years, 3 years, whatever. And if you realize that's not what you want to stay at, you can always move. It's so easy to do. And you can move anywhere in the country, out the country, whatever you want to do, you can do it.
For me, my practicum placement is at University of Maryland in the emergency department, the adult ED. And I hope to get a position in an adult ED, but since I'm out of state, I will try to do that back home. And for someone's question, you asked if being out of state and not having a car on campus makes it harder to get to clinicals. For your junior year and part of your senior year clinicals, you take as a group. So carpooling is really helpful. There's a lot of people who are from Maryland or have cars on campus, and you can work with them to get to clinical. As for practicum, because that is individual, that's what I'm dealing with now. I either Uber or figure out a way to get to and from the hospital, but that's something to think about when you're there. But there are ways to carpool with other students to get to your clinical site.
This is a question earlier too of what was your hardest class and what was your favorite class? You guys can answer that.
Yeah, I just saw that. I think the hardest class for me was Patho-Pharm, and Dr. Handy is the one who taught that class. But when I tell you, she makes it so easy. Everything that you need to know, we discuss in class. And that's with all of our classes. There's never something where you're like, oh, I'm surprised. Like, we never talked about this. They always go over what it is to expect from the exams, how many questions, what the concepts are. But my favorite class was my PEDS class. Between that and both of my adult health classes were just really enjoyable. Every single class, there's always discussion-based things to talk about. So sometimes we kind of get off track talking about either our experiences or some things that we want to experience. But I think all of the classes are just equally weighted. Like every time you go, just have an open mind and try not to think of what other people think as their hardest class, but what you can gain from it.
My favorite class was adult health 1 and 2 because it put everything together. So all the things that you learned in assessments and all the things that you learned in Patho-Pharm, you put everything together, all the conditions, what medications to take, how the medication works to make them better. I love that. That's just like how my brain puts things together. And I love that we were able to talk through things as a class and as teachers. They really give you a chance to like work through things and try to make things click for you. And my hardest class was OB. I really like working with adults. So working with OB and babies and children was so different for me, but I love that challenge.
For me, my hardest class as well as Rena was pathopharmacology, but as Rena was saying that Dr. Handy, she made it easier for us by explaining the content, providing us with blueprint for the exams and explaining things and answering questions that we may have had. My easiest class and my favorite class was OB. I absolutely enjoy my clinical rotation at GBMC. I'm absolutely passionate in obstetrics and perinatal health.
Okay, we have a question in the chat that says, with COVID-19 going on, were there times where you second guessed your major, or did it make you guys want to be a nurse even more than you did before? With COVID, I think it was scary for everyone at first, but I will say, at least for me, if you didn't love what you were doing before, then that'll make it that much harder for you. I really fell in love with nursing and caring in general. Holistic caring is what they teach so well. COVID just shows you more that there's different healthcare disparities. There's different, there's so many different aspects of healthcare that you don't even think about when it comes to COVID, when it comes to like treatment, when it comes to like the spread, who's getting it, your targeted population. It's so much to think about, but COVID really just makes me want to do more for the community as much as I possibly can so that we can get out of this pandemic situation that we are in. If you didn't want to be a nurse before, then I feel like, it gives you time to reconsider. You can talk to your professors about it. You can talk to your academic advisor, talk to your students, your coaches, talk to everyone. Make sure that this is what you want to do, because the moment that you lose your passion for nursing is the moment that, you should maybe switch to something else. And it's not for everyone. I won't say that, everyone who's in it right now will stick to it. And that's okay. It's nothing wrong with that. The school is great with helping you transition to wherever fits you best.
With COVID, I was working in the hospital, and one of the things that they teach at the school is self-care. So I think with COVID, that was really big for a lot of nurses and people working in the hospital, is making sure that you're going from such a high stress environment, make sure you go home and take care of yourself. So that was like a step forward to what we're going to experience as nurses. We're going to have really stressful days with COVID or without COVID at work. So you have to make sure that you put those self-care practices into work. Read, take a bath, relax, learn those practices now so that when you are in the field, you don't get as stressed out and burnt out.
There was a comment that we just had in a recent class made by Andrea about her having to be on the COVID unit, and some days are just so hard. But I think you said, like, one of your family members said that you never quit on the hard days. That's something that, it's such a simple statement, but it really makes you think, like, yes, we're going to have bad days. We always have those, but it's always outweighed by the good. It's more rewarding to continue what you're doing. And if you quit on the bad days, you're going to forget about all the good ones and just come back and just keep shooting for that good day.
And that's true as nurses and as students. Starting college, from high school to college, can be so different. And there's going to be hard days where you're stressed, you feel like you have a test every day that week, but just work through that week. And when the good week comes, that you're happy, you're celebrating with your friends, you have new friends, you're going out, exploring the city. Those are the days where you say, wow, like really love my school, really love being in nursing. This is like the best decision that I've made.
I currently live on campus to the housing arrangement, and I really like what they've done because of COVID and how they've accommodated us and allowed students who live out of state or need to be on campus to be on campus. They've made it so it's very like you don't feel scared to be around all these people living with everyone's in their own room right now. I'm not sure what's going to happen for the next upcoming school year, but everyone's in their own room, and meals are very accessible, and they make it so it's easy and you can take everything and you can go.
There's also a question in the chat about, as a freshman and sophomore, are you connected with the Center for Caring with Technology building?
Can you answer that, Barb? Bringing in sophomores and freshmen into the CCT.
Usually we see them as juniors, but certainly you will be in the building, you know, utilizing the classrooms, and you know, you're certainly welcome to come up and say hello and so forth. But the actual skills portion and simulation portion doesn't start until juniors and seniors, for juniors and seniors. I have a question I'd like to propose to the panel, if that's okay, Catherine.
Sure.
I was wondering if you could each give the students, if you had to give them some tips on how to be successful in nursing, in nursing school. Because you know, nursing is the hardest undergraduate curriculum. So, you know, what could be some tips you can give those that are listening?
One thing for me is being organized. In college, each professor has their own class, and different students sometimes are taking that class. So you have different majors, different classes, so staying organized. What really worked for me was having a planner. And the first week of school, when you get your syllabus, write down all those dates in your planner. Every day that something is due, when you have readings due, that's really big. So if you start doing that from freshman year, you do great when you get to the nursing portion. Having a really big support system. As in nursing, you move in groups and cohorts through the whole program. So freshman year, you meet everyone and you're like, well, we're all nursings. And then by junior, senior year, you're all friends. You all can carpool together. We actually have a group chat, like a Slack chat, where sometimes one of us is like, whoa, what are the instructions? I don't understand this. And we can all come together and answer the question or reach out to the professor. But it's really good to have a support system that knows what you're going through.
I would say one tip that I recommend is to utilize your resources and not to suffer in silence. If you are dealing with something, there's so many resources on campus that are offered to you, whether it be mental health wise or even academic wise. Like, I think before you enter into the nursing department, like nursing courses, a lot of the prerequisites are very rigorous, and there's tutors. There are people to help you that you can talk about, like if you need help with testing or test taking strategies, just to make sure that you get ahead of that, so you're not, so when you get into the nursing program, you know how to better study and better deal with it, so that way you're not struggling as much if you are struggling early on.
I would say be open-minded and definitely speak up. So definitely speak up on any questions or help that you may need. It's definitely good to just let your professor know, hey, like I'm struggling in this area. Can you help me or give me some strategies to better answer questions on the test? And definitely be open-minded, because nursing has so many specialties, and you may come in thinking you want to do this specialty and you end up liking and being passionate about another specialty that you never thought that you'll be passionate about. So definitely be open-minded.
One tip I would give is to really just involve yourself in whatever you love, so that you can continue that throughout your schooling and even afterwards. it's really important to just practice self-care so much. Like, you have no idea how much that really helps you just get through. So even if you like have everything organized and you realize you have a very stressful week coming up, just do whatever it is that you consider your self-care so that you can get through that and not be pulling your hair out by the end of the semester. um, for me, it was just like softball or just going to the gym and just like talking to friends, cooking, anything, especially since we've been shut down for so long. You can kind of stop feeling motivated to want to do things. But you showed up to open house. The first step is showing up. Next step is for you to just start doing what you came to do and just push yourself and know that you can do it and just keep motivating yourself. Like, you are your own advocate.
There's a question in the chat asking about what a class schedule would look like as a freshman and part of the nursing program.
Well, you won't be taking any nursing classes until you get into your junior year. Basically, in your first year, you'll be taking some of your maths and your Englishes and your science courses, intro to psych, and some history requirements there. And then you'll move on in your sophomore year, and you're going to begin to be taking those classes that are more geared towards the nursing program that you're really going to be looking back on in your junior and senior years as your prerequisites. So that would include courses like nutrition and medical ethics and anatomy and physiology, and then also human growth and development too. Also some math courses like statistics, which you will be looking at when you get into your research courses in your second semester of your junior year within the nursing program. And then beginning that junior year, you're going to start off with health assessment and then beginning to look at the foundations of nursing practice and then looking at the pathopharmacology course as well too. So it may be different for each individual how they structure that, but those are the basics of the courses that you would be taking. And then to our panel, what are some of your personal favorite on-campus activities?
I lived on campus for 3 years. And I really like that during finals week, they do a lot of de-stress and they have a late night breakfast where you probably up late studying and you get to have a little breakfast and chat with your friends, and they do some meditation and they bring in dogs. So I love finals week just for that.
For me, since I'm a student ambassador, we have a lot of activities and events in the spring. So my favorite is the Acceptance Students Overnight and the Acceptance Students Day. So we have a lot of activities where the prospective students come in and interact with the current students, and we have a lot of activities. So it's really fun.
For me, living on campus and with COVID, the Residence Life puts on a lot of events that we can do that allow us to really be in our rooms and not around with everyone, and just and one of the ones they do is like the movie nights. Those are really fun. Different RAs will put on different events if you do live on campus. Like, they have things for you to do so you don't feel like you're just stuck in your room all the time. And if you are, you're with other people on, whether it be Zoom or not, interacting. Usually when we do movie night, we usually talk about the movie after. So that's really fun.
I lived on campus for a year as well. Residence Life does a great job of making everyone like kind of just really included in like, we're all in this together, like it's all rough for all of us. It gives you a chance to kind of rant and just kind of just be with everyone who's in a similar situation. But now that I live off of campus, I feel like there's a lot that athletics is trying to do to like kind of bring some athletes together to kind of reach out to other people who aren't athletes. So there's a lot of like virtual activities. There's like bingo, there's like trivia nights and stuff like that to just get together and just have a good time. Sometimes just studying in UAB is really fun, especially when there's like tests and stuff coming up. If you have like small groups and then you guys can like like just do questionnaires with each other, things like that, to just stay with your cohort and just kind of like work through all this stuff together. It's just enjoyable.
For the question in the chat about certain rules and restrictions, when you're on campus, you are allowed to leave as long as you're staying within Maryland. If you do leave the state, there are rules and regulations you have to follow in order to come back to campus. But yes, you are allowed to leave campus as long as you're being safe.
There was a question about is there any challenges as far as navigating your way through school? For me, it was like the first semester of transitioning from high school to college. That was the hardest for me. Learning how to take notes and learning what's important to know for exams and how to like study for them and how to answer exam questions. I feel like high school teaches you to memorize and then just forget it the next couple days or whatever. But um, college really teaches you to keep building on your knowledge. And that was like the hardest thing for me to learn. But after a while, always reach out and ask for help, but learning how to test take, knowing like if you need accommodations, which the school is great for. They have an accommodation center for students so that if you need longer test time, if you need like whatever you need, you can just talk to your professors and talk to the, I forgot who it is who's in charge of it, but you can always find out who can help you in that regard. I feel like for me it was like you want to take notes on everything. You want to just like write exactly what the PowerPoint says, but that's not what nursing is about. That's not what learning is about. You don't learn everything word for word. You learn the general concepts and what's important, what's like essential for that, I guess, part that you're learning. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Mine was figuring out when you work best. In high school, you just kind of go to class all day and then you get home if you have sports after school and then you do a little homework and then you're free. But in college, I realized that I work better at night and I work better listening. So if my professors allowed it, I would record lectures and I would listen to it in the car or exercising, and I would watch a lot of YouTube videos and like use outside sources. Even though your professors provide you with a lot of information, know that there's other sources out there that can help you make things click better in your brain. And that's okay. You just have to figure out exactly how it is that you learn and when you learn best, like when everything sticks better. And to the safety of campus, I feel personally really safe. We have Loyola right next door and they have a Starbucks. So we really like to walk over there and get some coffee. I personally do, but that's just me.
For tutors, I know in your freshman and sophomore year, the departments, like the professors will tell you, I don't know if it's changed because of COVID, but normally they'll have a tutor assigned to that class and they'll have specific hours and you can just go in during those hours, or you can go through the tutoring center and set up time with a specific tutor. Once you enter the nursing program, it's a little different. We have care program, which is like you're assigned like a student that's usually ahead of you, like either a senior, or when you become a senior, they are maybe a person who has graduated from the program already, and they have scheduled times and you can meet with them and they can answer questions for you. But yeah, tutors are very accessible.
And as far as safety on campus, there's a lot of like stations where there's like it's like a blue light and it's a pole, and if you ever feel like you're not safe or if you're like walking, I know sometimes it's like really dark coming from the library to back to campus, so there's like a lot of stations where there's buttons you can press, or you can just call security and they can escort you.
I think
think we have time for one more question here. So the last question, in the nursing program, did you ever feel that there are certain traits that you have to have naturally?
I don't think so. No. I feel like everyone's pretty different and there's so many things you can do with nursing. As mentioned before, you don't really have to be this one little box or fit into one trait. You just love nursing and that's all you have to have.
It makes me think of the comment like Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't just have to come just expected to know all this stuff. That's what makes it so great, is that once you reach out and you're like, okay, I don't, like, some people just naturally are just good at talking to people. Sometimes that takes a little while for you to be able to present an idea or for you to express how you feel or express your own knowledge, and that's okay. No one's judging you, which is great about this campus, is that we're so inclusive. You're never expected to just know anything ever. As long as you're open-minded and willing to reach out, that's all you have to do.
All right, great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our student panel. I really appreciate it. If you have any other questions, certainly reach out and ask, and we will get back in touch with you. And I'm going to turn it now over to Marcy.
Thank you. And I mean this wholeheartedly. That was one of the best student panels we've had, especially virtually. You guys have made this a very great experience for the potential students, and for our students, I'm very impressed with the questions that you guys are asking. So I'm very exciting, not only for our current nursing students, but for the students that we're possibly going to be getting in the fall. So thank you all so much for that. That was very informative, and I learned a lot, especially when they were going through the sim labs with some of those sim people. So that was fantastic. And so as we wrap up today, again, if you have any questions or if we didn't get to your question during the chat, the counselors can follow up with you and make sure you're in touch with maybe a potential student, or I'm sorry, a current student to answer the question, or somebody in the School of Nursing. But to circle back, Anna is going to be dropping in the link into the chat for financial aid appointments, because that is a very important aspect of making your college decision. So you can use that link to sign up for a specific day and time for Chris to give you a call and talk about your financial aid package. And then again, always feel free to reach out to your admissions counselors. We're always here to help. We know you have a lot on your plate while you're finishing up your school years. So we really appreciate you guys taking the time today to be with us. And again, thank you so much to everybody in the School of Nursing. It was a great virtual visit. So if that's all, if anybody has any other last minute questions, you can drop it in the chat. But thank you all for being here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. So thank you, everybody.